Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much for joining me here today. This is your one-stop shop for cryptocurrency analysis, among many other things. We're taking a look here today at Quant, which is QNT. It is an Ethereum token, I believe, and it is definitely an interesting one. It's making higher highs and higher lows pretty consistently since its inception or ICO date, and I can tell you that it might be worth investing in. But again, we want to take a look and see to make sure you don't get wrecked, right? Because a lot of times, you know, I get requests for coins like this have already exploded because of the fact that people are wanting to know, should I take my profits? Do I continue to add to my position? What is the standard procedure for something like this? So I'll help educate you on that here today because obviously I want to make sure you don't get wrecked. So thank you to my community members for asking that I cover this. I do this for you and I really appreciate all your support because man, my patrons are amazing. You guys know who you are. Thank you so much. Obviously, this is something that I wouldn't be able to do without you. Now, moving forward, I'm not a financial advisor. This is for educational purposes only. You should always do your own research and just ensure you take ownership of your own trades. Learn as much as you can from as many people as possible. Don't just take what I say as gospel here today. Even though I have an 80% success rate and I share all of my trades with my community members, link in the description below. Check that out in your own time. This is not the only way to go, right? Develop your own trading style, develop your own habits, take what you can from as many people as possible. That's how I got here, right? 15 years down the road, it's been a work in progress. It didn't happen overnight. But I hope that you do find benefit, and if so, consider liking and subscribing, but more importantly, check out my Patreon account. I think you're going to like that. All right, let's go ahead and get to it. Jump into the charts. All right, folks, let's go ahead and take a look here at Quant Network. And just before we do, we always look at Bitcoin and Ethereum first to get a baseline of the market so we know exactly what's going on, because any good trader will look at Bitcoin before they take entry or make an investment, because obviously it's a catalyst and controls the market for the most part. And ERC20 blockchain for Ethereum makes perfect sense as well, because a lot of altcoins are on that network, including Quant, right? So Quant Network is an Ethereum token. So let's go ahead and take a look here at that. Before we do, first of all, I'd like to preface I use TradingView.com desktop application. This is the paid premium version, whatever that one is. And it allows me to just have more than 2 indicators present at any given time. So I highly recommend you check that out. Link in the description below for a free month if you'd like to reference that, of course. But why don't we go ahead and take a look here at Bitcoin. And just before we do, I always like to state that I use simple moving averages, not exponential moving averages on larger time frames. It just makes more sense. It seems to be more concurrent with what the industry leaders are using. Therefore, I use that. Not to say EMA is incorrect. It's just a trading style preference for me. Now, that being said, the SMA lines are telling us here that the 50 is working as a support, same with the 200. That's pretty straightforward, obviously, because the price has been trending more upwards and staying closer to 50,000. Keep this in mind, 50,000 is still a resistance level, okay? Just keep that in mind. And the reason why I say that is because you can see on the one-day chart, it still has yet to close above 50,000. We've tested it 4 times here so far. Perhaps today is the day where it closes above, but keep in mind it is weekend still. There's less volume, less volatility, and I would say a close after market hours on Monday would be more suitable for a reliable resistance or support for 50,000. So just keep that in mind as well. Also note, 46,800 is the next major support level. It's proven to be very strong, as well as 44,000 previously. So Bitcoin's been doing this little channel game lately where it just kind of stays within a certain range. And, it's been kind of nice because you can just buy the dip for the most part once these support levels are effectively, letting us know that we're in good shape, right? Once the supports are, hold, you just go ahead and take a long position to the upside and sell your profits close to the resistance. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. I've been using that in my Signal group, though, here recently. So check that out, of course, in your own time through my Patreon account. Moving on to Ethereum, though, here's something that's kind of cool. Ethereum's doing very well. So as Bitcoin usually does, when Bitcoin goes sideways, for example, the traditional thing that happens is people migrate over to Ethereum because, when the volume starts to increase, it starts to bring more volatility and more price action. And that's what we're seeing here, right? It's very reminiscent of back when Bitcoin was going sideways here. This is when Bitcoin sold off and went sideways. Look, April 17th is right here. That's the major Bitcoin sell-off, and then Ethereum took off. The main reason why is because Bitcoin didn't know what the hell it wanted to do, and Ethereum took its all the volume and volatility and just went right up with the price. So we're seeing that happen right now, so to speak, where Bitcoin went sideways, Ethereum took off. Ethereum's kind of like the people's choice for, if they don't want to invest in Bitcoin, they'll go over to Ethereum. It's usually one or the other. But regardless, the last 24 hours been fairly stagnant for Ethereum, kind of just going some sideways action right now. So until Bitcoin, decides it wants to break 50,000, we're probably going to continue to see this for a little while. All right, moving on to Quant. So Quant Network is quite interesting. It has these violent outbursts and then states consolidation. So I did previously cover this, and as you can see, the support and resistance levels that I created was like right around here is when I went ahead and reviewed it. I think it was on the 18th, if I'm not mistaken. It obviously held that support very well. So the previous resistance became a new support at about 177. And now we're seeing it create new higher highs and higher lows likely, and obviously taking off to create essentially new support and resistance levels. So we'll figure out soon what that looks like, but we're going to go ahead and obviously see if we can just check that out really quick, see where we're at here. So there's a strong likelihood that this one right here is going to be a major support level if the price comes back down. So we'll check that out, and I'll just see what else we can figure out. So RSI is up over 70, looking really good there. We've got MACD convergence on the basically yesterday, which no surprise there, obviously. So we'll go ahead and mark that as well. But generally speaking, all normal stuff here. So there's probably some type of short squeeze that occurred. My guess is there was a short squeeze that occurred right here, because a lot of shorts are typically held at major resistance levels, and once that breaks, just say plus or minus a few dollars, then the price shoots up. So I'm guessing there's a strong chance there's a short squeeze right here. Moving on to the 4-hour chart, let's take a look here. And we got a lot of lines here. Let's go ahead and remove the lower one here so there's less confusion. Also note too, we had a MACD convergence on September 3rd right here. Now I'm going to mark these just because I like to kind of help, show you the correlation between the MACD convergence, which is when the 12 intersects with the 26 in an upward fashion, and the Ishimoku cloud on the 1-hour chart. Right. Typically, the 4-hour chart MACD communicates very, very similar to that of the Ishimoku cloud. So what's great is you can set indicators or notifications, alerts rather, on both of these indicators. And once those things occur or happen, you get an alert, you take entry, and you get yourself some pretty sweet, easy profit. Like right here to say we got in there, obviously it's easier said than done because it's retrospect, of course. Hindsight's 20/20, but we're looking at about 52% increase to right now, had you got in right then and there when the MACD was telling us we had a convergence. Okay, so those are just things I try to look for. Just keep in mind also, both moving averages are working as support levels, so we're kind of in uncharted territory here for quants. That's kind of how it's been since the get-go, and all we can really do is rely on support and resistance levels. Keep in mind too, there's also going to be a support level and resistance here. Let's go ahead and see what this tells us. Yeah, so we can see that there. There's another support and resistance. Oh, oops. Right there. All right, so let's go ahead and remove this guy here and see. All right, so let's look at the 1-hour chart. I want to kind of show you something here, and this is really awesome. So the 1-hour chart, Ishimoku cloud. Look at this. All right, so first of all, the 1-day chart MACD, right? That was on just the 3rd. That's like a 24-hour time frame. It's a little less reliable for a convergence, right? So if you're going to do swing trading, I recommend using the 4-hour chart, not the 1-day chart, because of the simple fact that it gives you kind of a closer time frame. Okay, so we can kind of remove this here, but just know that had you got in here, it would still be a good position. It would just be a little late to the game because you didn't get that notification soon enough, right? Because waiting 24 hours for a signal versus every 4 hours just makes less sense if you're trying to get in sooner, right? Needless to say, what I'm getting at here is the fact that when we had this MACD convergence in the 4-hour chart, that's what I marked right here. This was telling us we had a long signal, right? So if you're not familiar with this, a MACD convergence on the 4-hour chart is probably the best indicator you can use, among other things, of course, but it really helps you as a swing trader to understand when the bears are losing control and the bulls are taking control. A divergence is the same thing when the 12 intersects with a 26 in a downward fashion. If you're going to be short selling, same concept, right? It's just the opposite, kind of flipped. But for the sake of this conversation, most of us like long positions versus short positions, which is why we see short squeeze more frequently than long squeeze. Regardless, if you look at this here, of course, you can see that at this point, this 4-hour time frame, plus or minus a few hours, the MACD convergence occurred. Told us we have a buy signal. Bears lost control, bulls took control. Right here, no less than 2 hours later, or right around that same time frame, we have the price breaking above the Ishimoku cloud. Now, the Ishimoku cloud is awesome because when the price breaks above, it's considered a buy signal. When it's below, it's a sell signal. It's almost always reliable. And then when I say almost always, it's just sure there's times when Bitcoin decides it just wants to shoot through or break below because of something that happened. But generally speaking, when you see this kind of thing that happens, it's like a double rainbow, right? So always try to set your alerts for the price breaking above the cloud, and therefore that would allow for you to kind of catch this signal a lot sooner, so you can catch this big old breakout, right? So I just like to point that out. Be sure to use that, and obviously if you're new to the channel or just new to the cloud in general, disable the first 5 inputs, because of the fact that yes, they're relevant, they're important, but unless you want to watch a 2 or 3 hour video of how to understand them, don't bother with it. The cloud just helps you for the most part. In general, that's kind of what we're looking at. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Keep it simple. You only want to have usually 2 indicators present above and beyond RSI and MACD per time frame. I think it's important to not over complicate things, because there's some YouTubers out there that are literally doing this with every chart and they think that they're magical. I prefer to use more reliable indicators, things that make more sense, because honestly, yeah, everything has a relevancy, right, at specific times, but you shouldn't try to confuse yourself with too much. Every indicator is relevant for specific time frames, in my opinion, right? You can't use VWAP on a larger time frame. They serve their purpose specifically for certain units of time, and it just makes more sense to not complicate things. So hopefully that made sense how I explained that. Moving on, let's go ahead and take a look at TD sequential here. And this one is awesome. I love TD sequential because it really helps us understand market exhaustion and to know if we're kind of in overtime or if we have plenty of time left to maybe add to our position. In other words, on the 1 hour chart, it seems to be most reliable. I like it on the 4 hour chart too. In fact, it might be relevant to look at the 4 hour chart here as well next. But on the 1 hour, for example, you see the 1 counting up to a 9. When that happens, you got a 1 counting to a 9. 9 candlesticks worth of bullish momentum. There's traditionally going to be a retracement or some sideways action from there. Okay. So what should happen here is at the 9, you should see a reset, and the 1 should start counting down to a 9 or go sideways. And this happened here. It pushed up past the resistance, kept testing the resistance rather, and then it got stunned out and it stayed. So it counted down, or essentially reset. When it counted up here, it keeps going up to a 9, and right there, this is probably what happened with a short squeeze. It shot right through that resistance level and came back down. Okay, so you see this common trend here, and this is actually very healthy in a lot of ways. It's got somewhat of a staircase pattern here, right? You can kind of see it. So to me, when I see that, I think that's very healthy. The only thing I think that is unhealthy is a super long candlestick right there that shot us up here. I think there's a possibility we might see a little bit of a push to the downside, or if this decides to retrace, it might come all the way back down to this major support level. Keep in mind too, we do have a support level here as well. I know it seems crazy, I've got tons of lines here, but I would say the most recent, most relevant would be 270 as a support, based on the fact that it kind of rejected there 3 times, right? But if we lose that support, it could work itself into a channel somewhere between 237 and 270. Okay. Now, the reason why I think that we might lose that support is because this increase here was so high that it's probably going to come crashing back down. And let me explain that here too, and the reason why I feel that. So look at the 15-minute chart. First of all, on the 15-minute chart, you've got only 2 indicators you ever need to use. These are the only ones you ever need to use. Don't bother with anything else. In my opinion, right? This is my trading style. I use the EMA 15 and the VWAP. So EMA 15 is, of course, the exponential moving average. Again, I use exponential on shorter time frames because it responds to the price action quicker. And therefore, if you see right here, price jumps up, right? Comes down, rejects off of the EMA, and continues to go sideways. Therefore, we didn't lose EMA. We created a new support level, and that is essentially establishing itself as a support. So EMA is nice in the sense that it kind of tells us when the bulls are in control versus the bears. So if you can kind of see this here, and this is kind of how the VWAP works as well. The VWAP is a volume weighted average price, right? It takes the volume the last 24 hours, expresses it as a price. If we look at this here, this blue line, one of the many, but yes, the squiggly blue line, that one is essentially the volume telling us that the price should be this amount based on the time frame, right? Last 24 hours. So if you can see, when the price comes down and loses EMA, it bounces off VWAP, right? See, every time it's bouncing off VWAP. Same thing happened here, only difference is the EMA held, right? So you see that? And then we got the supports. So I'm not sure if that makes sense to you if you're a newer trader or if you understand kind of what I'm trying to get at here, but the VWAP and EMA are 2 really helpful tools to kind of help you understand that, yes, the bulls are in control, And yes, you're above support. Because I didn't mention this, I apologize. The volume weighted average price works as a support and resistance level. So when the price breaks below, it's considered a resistance, stays above support. So if the price continues to go sideways here, let's go with a couple of scenarios. Price goes sideways, all good. It doesn't matter. It'll bounce up and down here. Fantastic. We want that. We just don't want it to kind of break to the downside. But here's the cool thing. QNT may not do that because we have not only a support level here that's been established, right? Bounced off EMA, but also more importantly, create itself as a support level. This VWAP line is going to continue upwards, right? So as long as this price doesn't shoot up any further, I think we're in good shape to see it go sideways. But if it pumps up just say another, I don't know, $10, $20, then we're going to see it kind of probably come crashing back down here. So again, I know it's easier said than done. These hypotheticals don't mean much until it happens, but I can tell you right now that the price is a little on the overextended side. Right at about, we're close to 10%. So that standard deviation from the VWAP to the price action is, as long as it stays within 10%, it's all good. And the reason why I say that is because you look here, it's pretty obvious. Look how this highest point, it was up 15%. It had to come back down, right? Because there's just like magnetism when it comes to the volume and the price. People don't understand this, but when the volume weighted average price gets too far, it's about 10% or greater, the price will almost always come back down. So if you are in a position, it's like, okay, VWAP, that variance is somewhere in the range of 10 to 20%, take your profits, let the price come back down, and then buy back in at the next major support if you test VWAP and the EMA are holding, right? That's kind of how you do it. Again, these are more day trading things. Don't worry about this if you're a swing trader, but also understand how it works when you're a swing trader too, because taking a $5 difference in your entry makes a big difference, especially if you're averaging down your price, and you can essentially be able to get a better profit later. So just things to remember. But I would say big picture, my prediction here, again, super challenging to be able to give predictions on coins that are creating higher highs and higher lows day in, day out, right? It's obviously doing very well. So hopefully some of you got in between $40 and $100. That would be fantastic if you did. If you did, consider taking your profits, because all of these support and resistance levels don't mean anything if we don't know how high this is going to go, right? So ensure you're consistently just trimming and adding to your position as you go further up and moving your stop loss with the price action. So your stop loss should be no lower than $176, if not $223, okay? Because again, that's a significant amount of profit, right? So if you're up here right now and the price comes down to 223, heaven forbid you lose 20%, it's all good. You should still be somewhere in the range of, 100 to 200%, right? So again, be smart with your profits. Take them while you still can. And take it from me, I've been in the industry for 15 years, and I can tell you that there's nothing worse than losing profits that you could have taken versus taking profits and losing those gains, right? Or not getting those gains. I'll admit, it happens to me still to this day, okay? But with the amount of money that I'm utilizing, or just, my account size, 1 to 2% is perfectly fine for me. I love a 1 to 2% gain every single day. That is growing my portfolio leaps and bounds if you think about it. Again, everyone has different amounts, everyone has different risk tolerances, but to me, it's stupid to leave money on the table. Take money while you still can. It's better to take that 20 now instead of, only, try to survive and get $5 back later when the price comes down. Anyways, just something to think about. And just know everything you just saw here today, I use in my trading style. I recommend checking out my Patron account. I share all of my trades with my community members, and the community is growing fast. And it's really awesome. Such a good group of folks too. You're going to like it. There's a private chat channel there as well. And we all talk openly about these trades, and I take a similar range of 2 to 4 trades per week, sometimes day trades, sometimes swing trades. I more so day trade Bitcoin, and I swing trade a lot of altcoins. So generally speaking, I send out profit targets, sell targets, things to kind of help you navigate this market if you're kind of newer or just unfamiliar and need a leg up. Right? Again, 80% success rate pretty consistently, and again, that's the reason why, is because I take profits and I adjust my stop loss. Okay. You got to do that. You got to steel yourself and make sure you protect your investment. Because again, this is investing. This is not. It's not something where you're gambling and you're going into a casino and the house always wins. You become the house when you use things like this, right? So again, be smart, be confident, but don't be overzealous, and make sure that you take profits when you can. All right, I probably sound like a broken record by now. Thank you so much for joining me here today. Really appreciate your support. We'll see you in the next video. Take care.